Hey, shalom, shalom. It's a brother Abaya Buff from the DC Church, coming at you, giving all praise, glory, and honor to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Yahweh being the Heavenly Father, Yahweh Shai being whom the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, Ba'ashem meaning in the name, Rakal meaning spirit, Kodash meaning holy. These are the names and the powers that I come to you in order to profess the 100% truth, and Lord's will seal the elect's faith. Shanya Kabaga Wella Rakaz Akanyaba Aith, meaning double honors to the elders and apostles of GMS. In these times whom the Heavenly Father had enlisted the 100% truth to, and Shalom wa Barakam Labakan Shiasha'ala, peace and blessings be upon the elected, the nation of Israel. And to the men out there that's pushing this word in sincerity and in truth, to you I say Shalom wa Barakam Ma'atham, peace and blessings be upon you. Now without further ado, this is going to be a really quick video. But I felt it necessary to bring out this point because it's kind of something I've been battling with. And it's really a battle that we all, as spiritual men of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, and heralds of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai and His Word, are subject to being in. It's a battle that we're all subject to having to undergo and live with. Okay, and really, it's the battle between the spirit and the flesh. Now, the beautiful thing about this battle is that despite whether if you're a spiritual man, and I actually want to grab that first. If you're a spiritual man, you're going to be able to extract information or spiritual intel or the lesson behind behind all of your actions, whether they're carnal or they're spiritual. Because, it's beautiful because right before I was making this video, I was just praying to the Lord to, help me make my videos because it's kind of been in a funk this week. But the spirit, I wanted to make this video like really, really bad based on, just certain events that's been transpiring in my life. Nevertheless, let me go here real quick. Where we at? Let's go to 1 Corinthians chapter 2. And it says, he also speaks, teaches in the spiritual, actually discern. But he that is spiritual, judgeth all things. I'll start at 14. It says, 1 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 14, the natural man receiveth not the things of the Spirit of the Heavenly Father. Right? So the natural man is not capable of receiving the spiritual extractions that come from your deeds. All right, whether they be spiritual or whether they be carnal. All right, but it says what? It says, for they are foolishness unto him. And the reason why he's not able to receive it is because he doesn't esteem it as something that's worth actually having. All right. Which, not knowing that being a spiritual man and acquiring spiritual intel is truly the highest form of riches that a man could ever possess, because it reforms the way that you think. It reforms the way that you are. It reforms the man that you are, your conduct, how you interact to certain things, how you react to certain things. It legitimately transforms your whole way of thinking, your whole mindset, just who you are as a person for the better. All right. And this is important because we are required to be transformed. All right. And we're required to have a subset of characteristics that are conducive to pushing the word of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, because we have blood on our hands. All right, when you go to Ezekiel chapter 3, verse 17 or 16, you can start at 16. It basically tells you about how we are responsible for admonishing our neighbor of the word of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. Now, the thing is, everything that we do in our life as spiritual men, as prophets of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, is wrapped around the concept of what a prophet would do. Okay. And even the things that we do that are not conducive to our lifestyle as a prophet, but are not sinful, but just not some things we may do that are not sinful, but it's just excess. It still helps and caters into us, gathering an understanding of what our purpose is. It all of it gears toward the spiritual. And that's why the scriptures also say in Romans chapter 8, verse 28, that all things work together for the good for them that love the Heavenly Father. All right. Because no matter if you are in a state of carnality or a state of spirituality, you're still in a state to where you're acquiring what you need in order for you to become a better servant of Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushai. All right. Now it goes to say, it says, neither can he know them because they are spiritually discerned. All right. So in order for you to understand the carnal and the spiritual, you have to have the spiritual tools in order for you to discern it. All right. And it's not easy. All right. The yoke of the Heavenly Father is easy, but gathering understanding takes time. And that's what, that's where the hardships essentially come in. It's the time that it takes to extract the information from the situations that you're going through. Because a lot of times you'll go through something and you'll come out of it, but you won't necessarily understand the matter of the fact in that situation. So sometimes the Lord will put you through it again, and then you'll get a better understanding. And then He'll put you through it again, so you can get a full understanding. All right. Now, a lot of times those situations that transpire are carnal situations that happen, things that will affect our flesh, affect our mind, affect our finances, our living circumstances, things that are a necessity. That's truly how the Lord tests us. He tests us by either temptation or it's really the Lord utilizes spirits to test us. He Himself does nothing except for command, but nevertheless, to keep it short, the Lord tests us by way of temptation, or by way of compromising our resources, or sometimes of what we feel is a necessity, because you need to eat, you need raiment, however you pronounce that word, for clothing. And then you also need shelter, and we also need a means to get the word out. All right. And these are all things that are really, you can kind of say like a fail point. It could potentially be a fail point depending on, how the Heavenly Father will allow Satan to tempt you. All right. But the fact of the matter is that no matter what, those situations bring us back to where we're still reverencing the Heavenly Father and extracting the lesson within those situations. Now, verse 15, it says, but he that is spiritual judgeth all things, yet he himself is judged of no man. And that's the beautiful part within the position that we're in, is that no man can judge us because the Heavenly Father is the one that justifieth. All right. And I believe it actually says that, the Lord said, whom He called, He justified. Or that's in Romans, the 8th chapter. Let me see. I'm going to go over one. It talks about predestination. I think it's earlier in this chapter. I know my eyes are jumping right over it. Salaki, bros. I'm in transit. Help with. There we go. This is Romans chapter 8 verse 30. It says, moreover, whom He did predestinate, them He also called, and whom He called, them He also justified, and them whom He justified, He also glorified. And that's part of the reason why no man can judge us. It's because it's the Lord who justifies us. Now, whether we're right or we're wrong, the Lord deals with us. All right. That's why no man can say, oh, well, you guys are this or you guys are that. And truly we're blameless because we have the blood of Yahushua HaMashiach on us to help us propitiate and to make an atonement for the sins that we've committed. All right. And thankfully, the Spirit of the Lord is on us that makes us not go too far out to where, we're not capable of returning, because there's limitations to carnality. You cannot go out here and defile your body and expect, for the Heavenly Father to still accept you. It's kind of like, a woman, after she's cheated on you so many times, it's like, you're not going to accept her anymore. It doesn't matter how sorry she is. got content on the internet with her getting, several rods in her, you're gonna be like, I can't accept that. You may still have love for the woman, but there's limitations to everything, and you gotta respect that. That's also how the Heavenly Father deals, because that's where the concept of limitations even came from. That's what the law, statutes, and commandments are. It's boundaries, So nevertheless, beautiful for us, the scriptures say that the Heavenly Father dealeth with us as with sons. So the way that you would deal with your son is very personal relationship, very charismatic relationship. It's the same way the Lord is dealing with his servants. Okay? And that's why it also says in Sirach, the 30th chapter, verse 1, he that loveth his son causeth him oft to feel the rod. And that's part of the reason why the Heavenly Father's chosen are always so persecuted. I just seen a post the other day, I believe the Rosh Monagon put it inside the chat, where it talked about, it was basically a display of how all of the disciples were basically killed, or how they essentially passed away. Some of them was by torture. Some of them got pierced in the heart. All these beheaded, skinned alive. It's like, what the fuck? And I love to reference Wisdom of Solomon, the 3rd chapter, where it talks about, in the eyes of the people, they seem to be, they seem to perish, but their hope is full of immortality. So, in the eyes of the regular individual, they're not capable of fearing the Heavenly Father and actually following through with, doing what's required of us in the truth, because they fear what, this world could do to their flesh. But the scriptures tell you that we're not supposed to fear what man can do. We're supposed to fear the Heavenly Father. I believe that's Matthew chapter 10, verse 28. Where he basically talked about how, you fear a man that can only destroy fear not the man that's only able to destroy the body, but fear the man that's able to destroy the body and soul both in hell. Which we know is just a condition or conditions. Nevertheless, that's who our fear really ultimately resides in. And that's also the motivation behind our actions for us to continue to push forward within being performative in the truth. Now, going back to Romans chapter 7, after having said all that, going back to Romans chapter 7 and verse 16, it says, I started 17. It says, now then, it is no more I that do it, but sin that dwelleth in me. And again, when you go to Romans chapter 8, verse, I think 20, it says, for the creature was made subject to vanity, not willingly, but by reason of him who subjected the same in hope. So Paul, really, Romans 7 and 8 is really an extension of the 7th chapter and that point that's being conveyed in the 7th chapter. Okay? Jake wilding on his damn road. You gotta be cautious, prayed up. And the points that are being made in 7, you get a better understanding of it in 8, because Paul really directly speaks about, what it is, the carnality and why, and how the Heavenly Father despises it. And then he also talks about the spirit. But the fact of the matter is, we're in flesh to where we can't run away from carnality. And that's why sometimes, and I speak for myself, which I know brothers go through it too. But for myself, I recently was in a situation where I legitimately felt like I didn't have control over my flesh. And it's because I've been dwelling in carnality for too long. And it was harder for me to fight off the temptation that I was undergoing. Okay? Thankfully, the Lord had enough mercy on me, for me not to be destroyed and to perish. And, the Heavenly Father, he's just truly merciful, man. But he's truly merciful when you're truly sorrowful for you actually fucking up. You can't just be out here messing up, just willy-nilly fucking up and just, Lord, my bad. Nah, you gotta actually have some sorrow within you doing fucked up things, So just keep that in mind. But Nevertheless, the main point is in 18, it says, for I know that in me, that is in my flesh, dwelleth no good thing. For to will is present with me, but how to perform that which is good I find not. And that is the main point. We try our hardest sometimes to avoid temptation, to avoid the flesh, but sometimes you just fall into temptation and you fall into the flesh. Thankfully, the Heavenly Father is merciful enough for us to be propitiated, number one. Number two, he's very pitiful and long-suffering toward our transgressions, because he understands that we are subject to the sin in which we are undergoing, all right, in which we are sometimes performing, all right? But it doesn't mean that, we dwell in that and we just say, fuck it. Well, I'm a sinful man anyway, so I'm going to just fuck up anyway. Nah, you try your hardest to avoid sin, avoid carnality, avoid living in that type of lifestyle, and praising Yahweh Shema Shabbat Shemikal Kadash in the most way that you can, But that's all I had pertaining to this topic. Pray that you were edified through this epistle. Give all praise, glory, and honor to Yahweh Shema Shabbat Shemikal Kadash. Shalom, Until next time, I can say shalom.